in coins. Uncle Scrooge? Mr. Scrooge?
You're
Uncle
listening
McDuck?
to the Beans and Dice podcast.
We'll try it again.
A podcast
In 5,
about
4,
how
3.
we game.
More retakes when we're done.
Hey, folks. Welcome to the Beans and Dice podcast, a podcast about how we game. I'm your host, Carlos.
I'm Rob.
And with us today, we have the proprietor, one of the proprietors of Your Turn, a board game cafe in Zephyr Hills, Florida. He swims in meeples like Scrooge McDuck swims in coins. Dan Urdzik.
Nailed it.
That's me.
High energy, Dan.
High energy.
I'm conserving.
Oh, okay. For the long haul, you got to make it through. Yeah.
Man of many words.
Yeah.
Man of many words.
He's got to make it through the hour. All right.
Well, thank you, Dan, for joining us today.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
We are missing William today, but we have Dan. He's going to fill the void of acquisitions.
Well, I think a Board Game Café proprietor and owner can do that, I hope. Yeah.
It's an upgrade from Will.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. There we go. We just won't tell Will we said that. But.
What I'm finding out, though, is if you own a board game shop or cafe, you don't get to play as much as people think you would.
Definitely not. Quickly, you learn that if you like to play games, you probably shouldn't open a board game cafe because the business side of it takes over everything.
That's what we've heard. We've heard that more than once from more than one different owner of a board game shop or cafe. Yeah.
So I selfishly create things like game clinics and painting meetups, so I have to be there to help. So by default, I get to do some gaming and painting.
Got to teach. Yeah, you do the some of the teach, learn to play, and playthroughs of some of the games that y'all do. Usually, a couple every Saturday, a couple every Sunday?
Every Sunday we do 2.
Okay, so 2 every Sunday. And then, like you say, you have the painting workshops that you do for... And painting, we're not just talking about minis. I mean, y'all do different kinds of painting, right? You do minis before you're doing crafts and things, yeah?
I handle the minis on Saturday. We have a meetup every week, 3 to 5, and everything else, art-wise, painting, drawing, pottery, that's all done through my wife handles all that stuff for the nonprofit for the arts we started, the Zephyr Hills Arts Alliance.
Awesome. I was going to ask about that. So yeah, I know that y'all are more than just a board game oriented location over there. You're doing giving back to the community with the nonprofit there with the art.
Yeah, definitely. We are in the middle of renovating for our board game cafe expansion, but as soon as we're done with that, we're moving over to the building for the Zephyr Hills Art Alliance, and we're going to finish up the renovation there once we get some more donations. We'll probably do a Kickstarter for that.
Very cool.
We're going to be doing another one for the expansion in the Board Game Cafe also. That'll be probably out in the next week or 2.
Nice. I'm so excited about that expansion.
Yeah.
Dan purchased the building.
The whole building, yeah.
Where he's located.
You're basically almost doubling the size of the gaming space?
The Board Game Cafe will be about another 80% bigger.
Okay, yeah.
The building, or I'm sorry, the unit that's next to us is like 3 or 4 feet less wide.
Okay,
but everything else is the same as far as the size goes, so it's almost doubling.
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to seeing at least a war game table there, something of that 8-foot
nice
by 4-foot variety.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have, we're working on getting a custom gaming table. That's going to be one of the stretch goals for the Kickstarter campaign.
Sweet.
We've already planned on getting one that's the 4-foot by 8-foot. It'll be like a gaming table, but it'll have a topper too, so people can do war games and things on it also.
And that's the tough part. Like, even at home, I struggle to play the war games I enjoy. For example, the Song of Ice and Fire's minis game is played on a 4-foot wide table. It's 4-foot square. I can't do that on this table. So having that is something that's going to bring a different type of clientele, people who are wanting to come to your space because they need that level of space.
Those people.
Those, yeah.
not my cup of tea, but yeah, not to alienate.
And not everybody has a game table at home, and even people like me who don't have a space for a 8 by 4 foot table.
Oh no, yeah, that's
I don't have that.
No, me either.
I don't got it like that.
Yeah. Anyway,
so we're going to get into, for today's show, we're going to talk about games that we've played. We're going to get into some acquisitions, which I think we'll just hand the show over to Dan.
Yep.
Rob and I will go out for a beer, come back.
He'll tell us about all his acquisitions.
He talks about his acquisitions.
Yeah.
And then we'll wrap up with any board game adjacent topics, including news, kind of like we always do.
Yep.
So let's start it off. Let's get into that first segment where we'll talk about games that we've played. music and
How many
logo
segue
and
music?
Oh, you
I'll
had
add it in the edit.
have music?
Oh, I do.
You got logos and everything?
He's a little segue thing.
The segue? Yeah. Okay, segue. All right. We're in for games that we've played. I'll start us off.
Okay.
We'll go round robin, left of dealer. I got to play Sagrada. So it's my first time getting a chance to play Sagrada. It's a board game, a family weight board game, which I have purposely stayed away from, Robert. I tend to do this. And I don't know if it's the right thing to do or not, but I do. If I have a game that I like, and there's another game like it or in its vein, I stay away from it. Right? Like Champions of Midgard.
Okay.
I stayed away from it because I had Lords of Waterdeep. Right? Like, why get something in its vein if I already love one like it? So for me, Azul was the first purchase that I had in this vein of placement, like tile placement, comboing, scoring.
Okay.
And when Sagrada came out, we were, I think it was Dragon Con 2019. We had, or maybe in 2018.
Yeah, it seems like it's been a little while.
Yeah, because that's a 2017 game.
Okay.
So it must have been 2018.
Maybe.
And we had volunteered with Miniature Market, and they allowed us to get some games as,
cool stuff, actually. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Cool
With
stuff.
Cool
Yeah,
stuff.
cool
Good
stuff.
point. Cool stuff.
Inc. Yep.
Cool Stuff Inc. And I had an opportunity to get Sagrada, and I said no. I said I'm happy with Azul, and I've stayed away from it. But recently, I've been hearing some really good stuff from lightweight gamers about how great it is, and I wanted to try it with the family, so I picked it up. And I'm glad I did.
It was interesting to me that you're hearing about it now. I mean, it seems to me like it's been a game that's kind of had its day that was fading away a bit. So it was a little surprising to me that you said you've been hearing about it more recently. And I've never played it. It's a game that I have never tried. I've seen people play it. I remember it was blowing up big, probably that same year at Dice Tower Con. It's like everybody was playing it. I don't think it ever made it to their hot games section. But it was, I saw it on the table. It was constantly checked out. And so I knew what it was. I was aware of it. I saw it. But I kind of felt the same as you did. There were one or two other games that we had played. We liked them well enough. And so it was like, this is not another one that we need to own. But I'd never have gotten around to playing it. So, I mean, that's one we're going to have to get to the table, and you'll have to teach it to me. But
Yeah, and I think it's worth it. It's a game published by Floodgate Games. Designer is Adrian Adamescu.
Yeah.
And Daryl Andrews.
Yeah.
Plays in about 30 to 45 minutes, and it's 1 to 4 players, but the expansion for the 5 and 6 player is only like $20, so it's totally worth getting it.
Yeah, it works really well too. It adds some more things. I've run and taught some games with a 6-player count, and it still goes pretty quick.
I played it with... Oh, go ahead.
Did you play with the little reservation discs where you have your own supply instead of just a supply?
That must be something that comes in an expansion.
It's the 5 or 6 player one.
I
yeah.
haven't cracked that yet.
Oh, yeah, sit up there and
It
rap
actually comes
still.
with an expansion in that 5 and 6 player?
Yeah, it has new mechanics where you have your own little circular dice thing. It's been a while since I've played it, but you can reserve dice just for yourself there for later turns. And I
like that.
I might be getting it wrong, but when I played with that, I liked the game even more than the base game.
So it's less luck because you're kind of building your supply.
It kind of gets you a way to mitigate some bad luck, yeah.
In Sagrada, what you're doing is you're filling in a pattern of 4 by 5 boxes.
I think it's
okay.
Is it 4x5 or just 5x5?
No, it's 4 because I remember the columns are 4 tall, and I think there are 5 columns, 4 tall each. So I think it's 20 spaces. Yep, 10 rounds, 2 dice each round. That makes math. Math is not my first
That's your
language.
first thing.
Confirmed.
But you're filling in a pattern, right? At the start of the game, you're going to have a pattern that you are limiting yourself to, right? So when you look at this pattern, you're going to have a grid of 4x5 boxes. Most of the boxes are going to have a color or a number on it, meaning you can only place a die of that matching color or of that number on that space. And then some of the spaces in the pattern are going to be white, meaning you can place anything you want in there. But when you place dice, you're limited in where you can place them. There are 5 different color dice, and when you place dice, you have to place a die such that it's touching another die that's already on the board. However, you cannot place orthogonally a die that matches a color of a dice that's orthogonal to it, or a die that matches the number of a die that's orthogonally to it.
It's really puzzly.
Yeah. Oh, not your favorite.
Starting to lose me. Yeah, starting to lose me.
Robert doesn't like those puzzle games.
Yeah.
But you're drafting dice. So that's your pattern. That's what you're going to work on. In each round, you're going to place 2 dice. And what's cool is they actually do a snake draft. So a lot of games have drafting, but not a lot of them actually do the snake draft that I can think of.
So you go last, then you go first.
Right, so you're going to place 2 dice each round. There are 10 rounds of placement. That's 20 dice that you're going to place. If you go first, you have to wait for everyone to go around, and then it comes back around. They all take another turn before you get to go again. It snakes around.
Cool.
So it really does.
It can be useful, though, when you're, especially if you're last, because you get to just do 2. It gets to you, you get to go again, and then it goes back the other way. So that sometimes it's better to be last in that.
Yeah.
Especially with a larger player count, because you'll have a lot more dice to pick from out there.
There'll be plenty of options left to pick from. Yep. My wife played it with me. I played it with my 10-year-old son and my 14-year-old son. So we very much played it as a family game, which is what I wanted it for. That's the whole reason I wanted it, was to be family lightweight, because Azul just didn't hit off like that. I think Azul, because it looks different to a non-gamer, it's not intuitive, right? But when a non-gamer sees D6s, they know D6s. They see them in Monopoly. These are just pretty colorful, beautiful, translucent colored D6s, gorgeous colors. So it looks like stained glass. By the time you're done, it looks like you built a stained glass window, and that's the whole theme of the game. But it hit off well with the family.
I was just saying, you mentioned that it was it's light enough that the kids could play, but you did say that as far as placing the dice and things, it was a little messy with the younger kids kind of knocking stuff around.
Well, there was a couple messy things to it, because the kids would place a dice illegally.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
Right. And meaning that it was a color touching another color orthogonally, or a number touching another number, meaning at the end of the game, they would have to pluck it off and lose points. But instead of doing that, we give them a chance to fix it. Hey, you just placed that in the wrong place, put it back. But when they went to go pluck the dice out, the dice are so tight together that their fingers would hit all the dice around it, and those dice would kind of roll. Right, so now, that isn't a 6 anymore. It's a 3. Well, was it a 6
What
before?
was it? Yeah.
Right, so I had to bust out the tweezers. Like I have gaming tweezers for my Hex Encounter war games.
Yeah.
You know, the big old 8-inch tweezers.
Right.
I had to bust those out for the kids to play Operation to pull the dice back out of the pattern.
Yeah.
So it's a small kid dexterity
Dexterity
issue.
game.
It's not a game problem.
It's a dexterity game now.
It's
It's
little sausage fingers.
yeah. So,
Yeah, that's Sagrada. Definitely is a game that gets played a lot
in the cafe.
in the cafe, and my wife, because my wife she doesn't mind complicated games, but if you don't explain the game to her and get playing within 5 minutes,
Oh yeah.
she's gonna let
Start
you
to
know
lose
that
her.
you need to hurry up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this game, you can probably teach it in 5 minutes.
Cool.
It doesn't take too long.
And that's how I felt. Like, my wife didn't say yes to playing, right? Like, I think I mentioned it in the call-in show today. She didn't say no.
Okay. So kind of strong armed her into it.
Well,
Yeah.
we were having dinner, and I said, hey, want to play a game? And she's like, whatever. And I'm like, oh, wait, that's not a no. I'm not used to not a no. So I immediately ran in here, started setting it up, and like Dan said, and within 5 minutes, I'm able to explain what we're doing and then get us going. Dice are on the table. We're plucking dice. She's watching people pick.
It's also a good game for people that don't want to sit around and wait for the rules to be explained to them, because it's a game that you can also teach as you're going.
Fast playing makes Sagrada easy to teach. Light on the rules. The toughest part is the limitation of where you can place things, but that doesn't mean that you can't play the game. It just means you lose dice at the end of the game. So it can add a negative player experience because maybe they put dice where it didn't belong. But if you're the host, just watch them. Make sure they're not putting something in the wrong place so they don't get that feeling at the end. I'll tell you, I misplaced 3 dice.
Okay. So
the
it
whole
happens.
time I'm making sure everybody's
Watching
good,
everybody else.
everybody's good.
Yeah.
Then I get to me and I'm like, oh, holy moly, I messed that up.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're thinking about everybody else, so you're not playing your game as much. But sure. Yeah.
I still won.
Yeah. Well, come on. Playing with 8-year-olds. Yeah, that's gonna happen.
No,
Yeah.
I can take that victory.
Okay. All right.
I think for me, the toughest part was I placed a die next to a spot that was restricted to a green die. So I placed a green die next to a spot because I wanted the green 6. It just didn't compute. That was an early game move. And at the end of the game, I realized, wait a minute, I'll never be able to fill that spot.
No.
I can never legally place a dice there. So I had to end the game not placing a die there. So Sagrada was a hit, for me at least. I'm on the Azul Agrada argument. I'm probably swinging more towards Sagrada now.
Yeah, I'm definitely more on that side of the game too, as far as between those two. I don't dislike Azul, but I like this more.
I'll have to give it a shot. Like I played a fair amount of Azul, so I want to try Sagrada now and see the comparison. So
it was because of, and you asked what brought this to my attention. It was actually the Secret Cabal Gaming Podcast had talked about games they play, and Jamie on that show talked about playing Sagrada with the family and how to them it's like one of their go-to weeknight games for the family.
Cool.
So that really got me piqued on interest. So I'm glad I got it. You can take it home, play with your family, and let me know what you think.
Maybe I'll do that. I'll borrow it and see how it goes.
Yep. That was my highlighted play that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Rob, what do you got?
Yeah, I'll take it. The game that I finally got to play that I've been wanting to play for a while, I was over at our buddy Chester's house from our group. He had a group of gamers at his house. I'll say gamers. There were some gamers there that were very light gamers, and then there were a handful of us that were heavier gamers, 4 or 5 of us. And he got a game of Exploding Kittens going, and everybody jumped in that. And then the light gamers continued to play that, but the 4 of us that were kind of the heavier gamers snuck off and got a chance to play A War of Whispers, which is a game that I've wanted to play for a little while. I'm a little late to the game on this one, no pun intended, but this was a 2019 release. And I've been wanting to play it since it came out. I heard a lot about it. I don't know. I'm going to try this name. This designer, Jeremy Stoltzfus, 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 publisher Starling Games. That's probably the one here in the States. But 7.5 rating on the BGG, overall rating 1,238, 652 out of strategy. It's 2 to 4 players, says 30 to 60 minutes, age 14 and plus, and a weight of a 2.51. But this is a game I'd heard a lot about. I know Chester had talked about it. His little gaming group has played it quite a few times. They've played it at least 4, 5, 6 times, and they don't do a whole lot of gaming, but this one seems to keep hitting the table over there. And he invited me over to play it a couple different times, and I finally, again, this was my first opportunity. And what it is again, here we go, big theme from Robert.
There you go. I'm waiting for it.
Yeah. So I cheated a little bit too. I looked at the BGG here, but I'm not going to read off the BGG. But it's a 2 to 4 player game, and there's 5. It's the map is a globe, I guess, a world, and there are 5 armies, 5 factions on the globe, and they're competing with each other for power and for territory and area control. You are not controlling any of the 5 armies or any of the 5
Actions?
Things that are the people, the kingdoms that are on the board. You are kind of a secret society that is pulling the strings behind the scenes to try to make things happen. And so what happens at the beginning of the game is everybody gets a board, and I won't get into all the details, but there's from left to right at the bottom of the board, there's 5 spots where the 5 armies picture, or 5 slots. From left to right, you want the army you have the chit for on the left to be the strongest at the end of the game, because you're going to get most multiplier points for how many strongholds they have at the end of the game. And then as you go to the right, you get 0. So you get 0 per stronghold for the one all the way to the right. Actually, I'm sorry, you actually get -1 per stronghold for the one on the right, and then it goes up. It goes to 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 times the number of strongholds for the one that's all the way on the left.
The Empires.
The Empires. There you go. You can call them, the Empires is good. At the beginning, you've got everybody gets 5 chits, one for each of the empires, and you put them face down, and you randomize them, you mix them up, and you just put 1 chit on each one of those slots at the bottom of your board. You do then get to look at them secretly, so you know, even though it's done completely random, you know which one you want to do well and which one you don't want to do well. And there's an action during the game that if you would like to at any point in the game, you can switch the places of 2 of the chits. But if you do that, you have to flip those chits over for the rest of the game and show everybody who you have put in a stronger position and who you've put in a weaker position.
Oh, revealing a lot of info.
Yeah, exactly. So you kind of want to do that. If you're going to do that, you want to do it later in the game once you've kind of got a feel. But there's points in the game that, since it's completely randomized, you may have 3 of the 4 players at the table who all have the same color that they're trying to want to do well, and only one person who wants that one to do bad. And so it's not even. In most of these games, you would have it be even, and everybody would be pulling for a different empire. But in our game, we had one empire that nobody cared about. They had it in one of their bottom 2 slots, and so we all pushed behind the scenes to eliminate that empire pretty early. And 2/3 of the way through the game, they were decimated. They had like one army on the board. They had like one little hut over in the corner, and we pillaged them with everybody else that we were trying to get to do well. So it's really interesting in that way. And then the mechanic of the game is you've got a little stack of markers, but each turn, each round of the game, you only get to put 2 of them on the board. But around the perimeter of the board, there are the 5 different empires, their colors. There's like a blue empire, a red, a green, a yellow, and then I think an orange. And they each have 4 or 5 action spaces that do different things. And so you go around the board and you just take turns placing on, you choose one of those 5 colors, and then you choose one of the 5 actions you want to do. And the actions can do things like add additional armies to the board. There's a deck of cards that allow you to influence those different ways. So you can put one on where you just draw a card from that empire. And so sometimes you're trying to throw people off by there's one that allows you to move the army, so it's a separate action just to move them and then to do battle. But you're kind of throwing people off. Like early in the game, you're thinking, all right, well, I really want orange to do bad, but let me go over here where I can maybe move an orange army, make it look like I'm building up a wall over here. But really, on the other side of that, my blue, I'm having them come in the backside and pillage from the backside is my plan. So it doesn't. You don't want it to look like you're trying to have one of the factions do poorly, because then if so, then everybody knows you don't have anything invested in them, and they're going to try to fight back to get your points that way. So it's really kind of a mind game. You're really messing with each other the whole time, trying to through fairly simple actions. The game is really 4 or 5 basic actions that you're doing, but you're doing so much in secret, and you're trying to throw people off by making it not look like you're trying to pull for one or pull for the other. It's really a kind of a hidden, I won't call it a hidden role, but
subversive. Right?
Subversive, yeah. There's a lot of subversion going on in the game.
Rob, it kind of reminds me of what you talked about when you play with Jason Franz. I believe it was called Imperial.
Yeah, I think that was Imperial or Imperium.
That was where you played more like the bankers on the economic side, funding different nations that were at war.
And that one, everything's in the open. That one, nothing is secret. Like in War of Whispers, you're a lot of what you're doing is you're trying to keep secret. You're trying to not let people know what you're doing. In Imperium, it was more, or Imperial, it was more open. Everybody knew you were buying stocks in different countries, and
so they knew who you were going for. This one, you try to hide it.
Right. Yeah, you're trying to be secretive about it. But it was a good game. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, and I had heard going into it that it was a negotiation game, and so that scared me away. Favorite. That's definitely not my thing. I don't sway people. I don't negotiate well, especially face to face. And this ended up not being nearly as much negotiation as I had feared. There's a teeny bit, but again, you're trying to be so secret about everything. There was me and the player to my left pretty clearly at the beginning had shown that we were trying to help the blue do well, and so fairly early on we looked at each other and we're like, all right,
kind of winked at each other.
We'll just reveal it. No, we actually revealed it openly. We were like, all right, the 2 of us obviously are pushing blue. Try to stop us, so to the other 2, and so we kind of teamed up on the blue. But then my next one down was green, so it's like blue was adjacent to green, so I needed to try to kind of push things around to the left. He's trying to push things around to the right to start wiping out the green because his green wasn't so high.
But then you're looking around the table to see if anybody else is going to help you with green.
Exactly, and you do a lot of that in the thing. If you get a feeling that somebody else is starting to help, maybe you just build up and then let them push in and let them do the fighting for you, so you don't waste all your actions, and then you can go do something with one of the others. So it's really an interesting game. I give it a definite thumbs up. I would recommend it, but I don't think either one of y'all have played that one.
I've not
yet.
Okay, that's a good one. That's one I would definitely think about. I might pick that one up. That was a good one. Yeah,
sounds like a war game, but not a war game. Like, it gives the war game feels
really secret behind the scenes. Yeah, yes, subversive, like you said. Yeah,
we'll see if Dan puts that on his acquisitions list.
Oh yeah, one to pick up. Yeah,
we already have a copy.
The shop's already got a copy.
Right,
there's our answer.
That's where we're gonna go play. I'll teach you. Yep.
Dan, any games you want to highlight that you played? A game.
Apparently, I'm no longer the only person alive that hasn't played Terraforming Mars now, thanks to a few days ago.
That's right. So
we did that for you.
Yeah, we had to break Dan in on that one. So I mean,
I can't break it down as eloquent as you guys, but it.
And you don't have to break it down because most everyone in the world, except for you, Dan, has already played it.
Yeah.
So you can just talk about what you thought about it.
Yeah, I probably don't need to talk to that one other person. So. No, what I thought about it is I need to play it another time or 2 before I can formulate a serious opinion about it, because first playthrough of a game like that, I had no idea which way to go, what strategy to do, but now that I have one play, at least I can kind of focus in one area next time.
That game's got so many cards. I mean, it is something that I know the first time I played it, I instantly fell in love. I knew as soon as I played it that I really liked it and I was going to keep playing it. But I could see, like you say, I mean, there are a lot of cards, there's a lot of things to do, and so that first time I can see, your head was probably spinning a little bit, and you want to try to. You at first time you just kind of have to resign to the fact that you're not going to have a strategy. You're just going to kind of play, see which way the game pushes you.
And that's what it evolved into, was me just basically trying things to see what would happen.
Yeah, poking the mechanisms, pushing buttons, seeing what works. And you talk about the cards, Robert, being a lot of cards. Yes, there are, and that's a big card game part of it. Mm-hmm. But I think the part that I needed to develop myself as a gamer on is the area control aspect. Mm-hmm. I feel like I always end up like in second place or just shy of second place, but never really first. And it tends to have to do with I focus on card play, card combos, actions, and not really buying area control on the board. You, Rob, tend to do well at area control. Dan, you did great at area control this first game of yours. You did way better than I did. And that's what let you, Rob, come catching up from a huge deficit. Like I had at least a dozen or more points ahead of you on the terraforming rating until you were able to scoop up points with area control.
That and then the cards, that was another thing that I noticed that Nick Oben in our game group, when he plays, at the end of the game, he gets a lot of points off of the Jovian Moons, the
tags.
The points, the cards that you get at the end. And I don't tend to focus on that. The game I most recently played against him probably about a month and a half ago, he destroyed me, and it was at the end again. He was just counting those points. I think it was either 1 or -1 point at the end from the cards, and when he counted his up, he had like 15 points, and he just went plowing past me on the point track. So this last game we played, I really tried to be aware of when I was playing cards. If I had some options, I would try to play the ones that give me a point or get me 2 points at the end game scoring, and it seemed to work. I mean, I kind of came from behind and ended up winning that one. But
all the fun cards have negative points.
Well, yeah, and that's your problem. Is you like all the stabby, punch you in the face cards.
Send the raiders over there, or go tap your energy. Yeah. Drop a comment on you.
Yeah, you were laughing all the way through the game, but who was laughing at the end, baby? Yeah.
I was so crushed when you came. Whipping around me on the VP track
on your face.
I thought I finally had a win.
Thought you had knocked me back far enough that I couldn't catch up, but yeah, that was it at the end.
But Terraforming Mars, man, great game, love it.
Yeah, it's still in my top 5 all time, I think. Yeah.
I think I'll catch you up real quick on my weekly Blood Bowl match. Just quick highlights for this one.
Sure. Yeah.
This was against Nick Oben, friend of the group, big friend of the group, and Nick and I had our match. And Nick, it was like a chess match. It was a back and forth chess match, but Nick got me 2-0, bro. I could not.
Oh yeah.
I could not keep up with. He plays I was going to say army, but a football team, because Blood Bowl is a football-style game. He plays a team that's a control team. It's a team that when you normally can do something, he's got a piece that says, sorry, you can't do that. An example is whenever you knock another opponent's player down, so you push him back one space and knock him down, you can move forward and take ground. You can take that space of theirs, right? Nick Oben's team says, no, you can't take ground. Stay where you were. It just changes all your plans. He has players that have what's called stand firm. That's the word I'm looking for. His players have an ability called stand firm. So when I knock them down, instead of knocking them back, they fall right where they are. When you give them a push result to shove them back, they stay right where they are. So the whole game of Blood Bowl is a positional game. It's all about area control, moving pieces out of the way to open up holes to try to run a ball carrier through. I couldn't do it. I had the ball, I had possession of the ball, and I could not get through his line. It's just frustration.
I imagine, How'd the pace of that game go?
Pace? What is this word you speak of? I don't understand this word pace.
Yeah, I recall you having a conversation, I don't know if it was on air or not, about keeping the game moving and keeping Nick Oben on a time clock. So
I shifted strategies and I went for a video recording. So I couldn't use a time clock when doing a video recording. It took us 5 hours to play that game, but I did record the whole game, and I'm currently editing and publishing that battle report for Blood Bowl fans.
Okay.
I've never played Blood Bowl. How many teams are available for people to pick from?
Upwards 20, almost 30 something teams to pick from. I got a poster over there. I got a ton of them.
Oh, yeah.
And I got a lot
All
of
listed,
them. Yeah, you can slide that poster out. You can see them all. They're awesome. There's dwarves, there's elves, there's rat men, there's undead. There's like 3 different varieties of undead. There's snotlings.
No, he's talking about that poster right there.
Oh, I didn't see that over there. Yeah.
Yeah, look at that. And every team plays different. So if you want to play a big bashy team, you might play something like Black Orcs, right? So they hit hard.
So out of all of these on this poster here, which one would be the one that people like never play?
Oh, geez. One that I rarely see, and actually I've seen them all. I've seen them all on the pitch. I've seen them all. The one I see the least of tends to be the Chaos. I haven't seen a lot of Chaos, but when I have, they hurt. And then the Ogre teams. Ogre teams, you don't see a lot of Ogre because they're very random. So, for example, because these are Ogres.
Random and Chaos.
Because they're Ogres, they're really stupid. Before they take an action, they have to roll a d6. If they're attempting to move, they need to roll a 4 or higher on a d6 to move.
Wow.
Because they're really stupid. Or actually, they're boneheaded is what it's called, bonehead.
What do they do? Good, then.
They have a strength of like 6 or 5, right? So they have a lot of strength and a lot of skills. If they do a block action, they only need to roll a 2 or higher, so don't roll a 1. So for the majority, as long as they're punching someone in the face, hey, they're doing what they do best. And that's what makes them so random. But the fact that they have a strength of 5, like they just go around just bashing everything. And the game is all about strength. One piece versus another piece. What's the strength that determines how many dice are rolled from one to the other?
Okay.
I might have to try it out. One of those 2 teams, Ogres or Chaos.
Yeah, Chaos has got.
I think Chaos has your name
all over it.
Yeah, I think so
for
too.
Sure. Yeah, give that a shot. Let me know how that goes. But
and you'll love painting them. Dan likes to paint too.
Yeah, there'll be some pretty Chaos. Yeah,
I think we've hosted at least a couple of tournaments at your turn for Blood Bowl so far. I know I hosted one of them. So your turn has been a great place, a great location for us Blood Bowl players. So that was my Blood Bowl match update for the week. Rob, any games you want to highlight?
The other one I just wanted to touch on, I actually got a couple here, but the one I really wanted to touch on, that Dan and I, just a quick update, was Arkham Horror, the LCG. And I mentioned last week that Dan and I had played the first scenario. We're starting from scratch, starting from the base set, and we're going to start getting together every Monday night, which we've done the last 2 Mondays. So we're going to try to keep that going as best as we can. But we're looking to hopefully in the future maybe get a couple scenarios in, but we just got one in this last one. This one was searching for the unique cultists. And again, I'm not going to give any details away. I don't want to give any spoilers, but I will say that this one kicked us in the face a little bit. I know Carlos and I had played this one before, and we did okay. You're looking for you're searching around the city, trying to find up to 6 unique cultists, and I kind of alluded to it in last week's discussion when I was talking about Arkham, and that again, without trying to give any spoilers, the intent of this one is to kind of show you pretty early on in your Arkham experience that there's an action you can take that is resign. And when you're originally playing the game, you're like, why would I ever resign? I'm going down fighting. I'm going to try to kill everything. But this one kind of introduces you to the idea that there's a goal that you're probably never going to reach, finding all 6 of the unique cultists as you search around. You have to find them out in a deck, and then you have to get them on the board, and then you have to defeat them to put them in your trophy hall. And this one kind of introduces you to you're not going to get all 6. You got to find that point where you think you've kind of maxed it out, where you can get as many as you can without dying and or going insane, and then use that resign action to get out of the game before because if you play to the point that you either take a defeat either by insanity or by enough physical damage, then you get a permanent scar on your character, and then every game you play after that or every scenario you play after that, you start out 1 down, either with 1 more wound on you or 1 more, I guess, mental wound on you, 1 less sanity, and so it has a lasting effect. So again, this one kind of teaches you that you don't always want to go down swinging in these games. You got to make some decisions. I think when Carlos and I played, we found it was either 3 or 4 of the 6 unique cultists. When Dan and I played this time, we found 2. And
wow.
Getting the second one was a struggle.
The second one was like we got it and then resigned right away the next turn.
Right.
Yeah.
You had already been defeated, and so you
Yeah.
got out. You sacrificed yourself to keep a couple of the bad guys at bay long enough for me to be able to fight off and do that last bit of damage to the second unique cultist. I can't remember what the name of the one that we tried to get.
What was the last
Was it
one?
Wolfman or Wolf?
I think it was Wolf. Was it Wolfman?
Something Wolf something, yeah. So yeah, but it was a good experience. Even though we didn't do so well, we just had bad draws at the beginning. The first probably third of the game, we couldn't draw a success to save our lives. And then as the bad guys started coming out, the further you get into it, more and more guys spawn. I ended up with 3 guys on me that I just couldn't get rid of. I couldn't shake them. I couldn't run away from them. I couldn't beat them. Their strength and their health was too high. So Dan eventually, again, sacrificed himself. He came in, kind of drew some of the bad guys away. I ran away from them and was able to go get the one bad one we needed. But we again, this game, it goes on. So usually at the end of from what we've played, just the 2 scenarios, at the end there's usually 3 outcomes. So you read one paragraph, one little story bit. If you defeated, didn't do anything, you read another one if you were like semi-successful, and then you read a third one if you were pretty completely successful. And so this one, we got the middle result, which wasn't bad.
Okay, that's not terrible.
So yeah, so it keeps it going. I do know again a little without getting into details, just because I have played the third one as well. I know that depending on how many of the cultists you find in this one will affect how difficult the next one is, and so it looks like we're in for a bit of an uphill battle on this third one. But
well, the good news is that the next scenario is the last one in the base game.
In the base
so
game,
now we can jump into one of the bigger expansions. That each one takes place over 8 episodes.
Is that 8 episodes? Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Each big box, they're a little smaller, but I mean, expansion comes with 2 of the acts in it.
Okay.
And then they've been putting out 6 blister packs.
Right.
One for each act, but I know that they're changing that in the future.
Right.
But I've already got everything ready to go for everything that's been put out up to this point, so we can just keep progressing, and our reports about it will be a little more interesting in the future because it'll be all new for us after we get done with this one.
Yeah, after we do this one, none of us has gone any further.
Is there an order of operations of like what comes next, or is it just you choose which box to open?
I didn't look into it to see if there was an order or not. I know
you can choose. Yeah, from what I understand, I'm going to cut you off, but what I understand, each one is kind of a self-contained story, and so you can do them in any order. A lot of people play them in what I figured we do. It doesn't matter to me, and it's just we probably do them in the order they were released.
That's
just
what
so
I planned on doing.
Okay,
too,
that's cool. So we're on the same page.
BGG
there.
it and find the date release.
Right.
Now, your character that you play does build up from session to session. Can you carry him over from the core box into the next adventure, or do you start over again?
I think you start over at the beginning of each new cycle that they call it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
And there's new characters in the next one.
That's refreshing. I like that.
You can bring characters from the other ones, but you still start over at the beginning again.
Right. And there's a little bit of a deck building aspect. I think Dan and I both like that a little bit. I'm not huge on the deck building. I know that was something when we played X-Wing, Carlos, you used to build the list because you like to spend hours building lists and stuff away from the game. Turn 0, I guess they call it.
Yeah.
In this, we'd kind of do it on the fly. 15 minutes before the game, we'll kind of sit down and kind of do it. Or actually, we've been upgrading our decks after the game. So the last thing we do before we pack it away is we get our experience points and do our upgrades.
And that's where it's kind of nice too, is you get enough points to like change 2 or 3 cards, so you're not there all day trying to figure out what you want to do.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So
and you have to keep the deck size the same, so if you put one in, you have to take one out.
So that tends to be the hardest part is figuring out if I'm going to upgrade this, I got to get rid of that. So yeah, that's
it's how my board game collection keeps growing, because the whole one in, one out, that don't work for me.
Not happening on the board game wall over there.
Yeah, I know, because when we were doing the last scenario and we had to pick, I just went lazy because there are upgraded versions of cards you start with.
Some of them,
easy answer.
And then you can put that card in and take the other one out, and you didn't really lose anything. So that's what I did for our last one.
Yeah.
That's easy answer. I like that.
And you have to do that with those. It's not optional. If you upgrade with the same title, you have to pull the old one out. So it does make it easier. There's only a few of those from what I've seen in each of the decks.
Yeah, it's only like 2 or 3 in the deck. Yeah.
So you get a few of those easy calls, and then you got a few tougher decisions. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to, and again, I've mentioned this over and over, but supposedly as we go through, people rave about the different awesome things that they've been able to do. It's Fantasy Flight, I believe, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, that they've been able to do with just a deck of cards, and people just say the way that they lay them out, there's unique little twists on how they use the cards from scenario to scenario, and it's an exploration. It's something every time you play. It's
I mean,
cool.
on the thematic rank, it's number 9. I mean, it's the top 10 of all. We're talking like very expensive.
Oh, so not my
you
game.
know, like Gloomhaven style games.
Tell me to bail out now.
It's up there at like 9.
Yeah, it's heavy theme. I mean, every card has flavor text. All the art is different. I mean,
And the art impacts the game. Like I remember playing with Rob and looking at the artwork of the card, which gave me the clue I needed to figure out what we needed to do. It's just like it's all so connected.
Yeah, just that bucket. I know what you're talking about. I won't go into too much with that bucket in the first one. You can see it on the picture, and you're like, if you're just playing the game, you would never think to look that close at the art. But then as you start doing it, it's like, oh, we got that from there, and we needed to go over there. If we'd have looked
Put
a little
that and do that.
yeah, if we'd have looked a little closer, we would have known just from looking at the art what to do. So, yeah, it's really cool. So I'm looking forward to. That's going to be a long
we
campaign,
got. I think there are 5 cycles out right now,
yeah, probably at least. So,
and those are 8 each. So we're looking at least 40 acts there, and then there are standalone adventures you can do too. I got most of those.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, so yeah, Dan owns just about everything, if not everything, at this point. So we're really looking forward to pushing forward with that. Yep.
Let's keep it on the cooperative card-based games. And Dan, you got the chance to play Paleo this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paleo. Yeah, we did. We played it twice and we failed twice.
Spiel des Jahres winner. I got to throw that out there. So they just won the Spiel des Jahres last week. So that's what really put it on my radar. I know Carlos, you and William had played it
months ago,
many
5,
months
6
ago,
months,
7
when it
months
first
ago.
came out.
Right, and y'all both liked it, and you kept telling me that I needed to play it. And then when it won the Spiel, I was like, okay, I need to play it. So
now he listens.
now I listen. Yeah. Now that
what'd you think of Paleo, Dan?
Of all the games I've learned new recently, that's the one I've liked the most.
Oh, wow.
But again, I still need to play it a few more times and have us not be terrible at it.
Yeah, we got our rear ends kicked a few times in a row. But you said William did find out we played something a little bit wrong.
Yeah, we could share more of the wounds than we were doing, so we can distribute some of those wounds, not take as much damage. So in Paleo, what you're doing is you're playing a tribe of like Neanderthal cavemen. Right? Each player has a tribe of them in front of them, but there's a group of us all working together. So I may have a small family / tribe of my Neanderthals, but Dan's group needs to work with my group and Rob's group to advance forward the mission of the entire group of all of us together. The mission is to get 6 art pieces of a cave drawing of a mammoth.
Yep, cave painting.
To win the game, and the way you do that is by progressing through the decks. What's really cool about the game is when you're playing, there's a deck of cards that we all share. The back of all the cards have it starts off as 3 different backs. So you have forest, you have river, and you have mountains. And then a 4th back is the danger. So like a threat.
Yeah.
It's a red, like a thorny red thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we're going to shuffle all those up based on what the scenario calls for and deal them out. And all you see is the backs.
With some scenario-specific cards. That are mixed
every
in each
scenario
one.
is very specific in how you build this deck. We shuffle them out, and then for the first time that we go through this deck, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the backs of the cards, the top 3 on our deck, to see what is ahead of us.
Yeah, the back gives you a hint as to what you might find in that area.
Right, so like the forest, we're going to find food and wood.
Yep.
And in the river, we're going to find food and... I don't recall what the other was.
Not stone. Stone was in the mountain, isn't it?
Stones and mountains.
Is it stone in the mountain? Okay.
It might be stone and food
And
in the
pelts,
river,
or is there pelts
and then
in
it's food. It's stones and ideas in the caves.
Okay. Yep.
Right. So you're finding different types of things based on the cards. So now you got these 3 cards you're looking at. The backs of you got to make a decision on which one do I want to resolve this round. Every player will resolve one of those cards. So we might be like, hey Rob, if you're gonna go after food, I'm gonna go try to do this threat and get it out of the way. So Dan, I might need your help. And then we all flip over what we picked. And then we got to figure out how best to resolve all of these events that occurred, some good, some bad. But the overall objective of the game for each round is to get enough food to feed your peoples. Everybody's got to eat. And then pass any objectives that are there for the end of the day.
And you have to have a shelter at the end of every day, too.
Right. That's one of the objectives is a shelter, because each game is a different objective. So each time you run through this deck, you're kind of discovering what these cards do. right? And when you beat the card, it goes away. For the most part, it'll go away. You will never, like back in the box, never touch it again. If you don't beat it, it goes into the discard pile. And if you don't even try it, you don't even look at it, it goes face down. So by the end of the first day of play, when we all clear our decks, we're going to have a discard pile of stuff we've seen. We're going to have a discard part of stuff we haven't seen, right? And then we're going to take those, shuffle them up, and deal them back out for the next day.
Yep.
Right. So, but now we have less cards in that deck because some of them we've accomplished and they're gone forever.
We got an idea though of what's in there.
Right. Like, oh, that was a snake, and we didn't beat him last time.
He's coming back.
We know a snake is coming back, so we have to have a torch ready for the snake.
Yep.
Right. So now we know we're going to try to build a torch this round. I love that feeling of kind of slowly discovering what's in the deck.
Yeah.
And then kind of planning the next day to try to beat it.
Which we didn't do too well. But
Oh, yeah. I love the idea of it.
yeah, the idea.
We didn't
Just
execute.
The execution, yeah. Was
Not at all.
It was piss poor. Yeah.
But it also, the cards in your hand represent like your energy for your tribe. So when we first deal out the deck, everybody's getting like 10, 15 cards, right? We're
Yeah.
doing all kinds of stuff.
Burning through them.
Right, but as we burn through them, the next day we might have 7, 6 cards in our hand. And we're like, oh, wow, we don't have very many cards to get the required objectives, food and shelter, by the end of the next day.
Yeah, because each time you go through, some of them are going away to the graveyard, and then you're burning cards to do certain actions. You're having to discard extra cards and things.
Yeah, that was some of the problem we kept running into was the fact that 1 or 2 people would run out of cards well before the
rest
other
of us.
people.
Oh, I was going to sleep early.
Oh, yeah.
So you were stuck trying to do everything with this 2 people half the time.
It just and it was always the biggest thing that required you to discard the most cards, right? For example, like killing a woolly mammoth would require you to discard 5 cards from your deck. So it's like, okay, I can see the theme in that. Like your people are exhausted. You beat up a woolly mammoth. You got 6 bits of food, 8 pelts, right? You did a great job, but now you're in bed and it's noon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the rest of you guys still have to go figure out how to gather and hunt for the tribe, right? For all of us with the cards while I sit and watch. It just, to me, that was like a great melding of mechanics and theme.
Yeah, it was fun. I definitely would like to play it again. And there's I think I mentioned this before, but one of the things people, a little bit of a drawback in it is you've got that discovery really the first time you play through each of the scenarios. I'm not sure how many different ones there are in the game, but there's several. I mean, there's 6 or more.
I think there was like 10 is what he said.
Okay,
Yeah.
was there? So the first time through, you kind of know what you're going to run into, the same kind of bad animals, bad guys. But the first time you play each one of those scenarios, it's a unique mixing of some of those secret cards, those scenario cards that get mixed in different ways, and so you don't know exactly what to prepare for. So I'm looking forward to going through the other 9 if there's 9 more, just to kind of get a taste of what it's all like. But just to throw in some of the stuff here, so that's Paleo, a 2020 release, 7.9 rating right now on the BGG. Says it is, I'm going to try the designer here, Peter Rustmeyer. Artist is Dominic Mayer. And publishers, there's a handful of publishers here, but says the ones I recognize here, Hans im Gluck, Lucky Duck, and Z-Man Games. So
Yeah, I think we got it with the Z-Man version from
okay.
Armada Games.
Yeah, 1 to 4 players, 45 to 60 minutes. Weights a 2.6. So, but yeah, fun game.
I wanted to circle back around to Sagrada because I've seen us talking about this with all the other games we're talking about. But if you look at the top of its page on BGG, like where it says like overall theme, family.
A word is ranked.
Right. If you look, I think that game is like way up there in everything.
Oh, really? Yeah. I see it's the number 156 game overall. Abstract games number 10, family game number 29.
So abstract and family games is pretty high.
Hey,
top 200 is awesome.
Anything in the top couple hundred is a great game. So
And to have high ranking in all those other categories.
yeah, that's a good one. I don't know if we hit that 1 to 4 players, 30 to 45 minutes. Weights a 1.93, so not a particularly.
That's right,
heavy
Rob.
game.
You didn't give us the BGG stats on
I'm sorry, I
Sagrada.
missed Sagrada. Yeah. There we go. We got caught up though. Floodgate Games. So
You're welcome, Floodgate Games.
Yeah.
there you go.
You can send the royalty checks too.
Yeah, exactly. Anything else you've been playing, Carlos? or?
No, on Paleo, I want to
okay,
answer your
go
question on the replayability aspect.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Being the one person that's played it before,
Twice. Yeah, you played it twice. Yeah.
and we went back to the scenario again that we've already played and beat,
yeah.
I still had a blast because it wasn't easy. Like it's still very much a challenge.
Yeah.
So it's not the replayability. I thought it was going to be bad, but I feel like it's better than I thought. Like, yeah, the story is not going to surprise me, but the challenge of trying to win it again, right, I still don't know how the heck we won it out of those first 2 plays.
Yeah.
I still don't know how we won it. So now it's like, okay, how do I take the information I had from before to help us win? I haven't been successful at that. Like you know what I'm saying? Like to reuse that information to help us win again. So I think replayability is better than you're going to think, Rob.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
So that was Paleo. Yep, Dan played with us on that one. Any other last games y'all want to highlight that you played?
The only thing else I'd touch on is we all played tonight, Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition. And
That's right.
We talked a little bit about that in last week's show, so we don't need to get too deep into it. But I did want to just I know Dan's only played each of them one time. He's been introduced to both of them in the last, 3 days?
Yeah.
You played both? So,
right.
And I know, again, first time, you're still learning both of the games, but what did you think about the comparisons between the two? Obviously, Ares Expedition, a lighter, quicker version, although, again, I don't know that it was a whole lot quicker for us.
Slightly quicker.
Yeah, maybe an hour less. We went about, 3.5 hours in Terraforming Mars, and then I think we spent 2-ish hours in Ares Expedition, but... what do you think of the comparisons? I'll tell you, and I'll just start maybe just to kind of give you a minute to think, but I know I have been on the downside of Ares, and I keep hearing from everybody that for a lot of people are saying this game replaces Terraforming Mars for them. This is there's obviously a time difference, even though it's not as big again as I think we thought it might be. But I don't like the fact that it takes the drafting out. That's one of my favorite parts of the full-blown Terraforming Mars. I feel like I have a lot more control on what I'm doing. I can mess with somebody on either side of me if I know that they're trying to do a thing and I'm paying attention to what they're doing. I can block them from doing things, take cards maybe that I don't want, but I know that I don't want to give to them. It obviously adds time to the game. It adds an hour worth of staring at cards, trying to figure out what am I going to keep, what am I going to pass. But to me, that's one of my favorite parts of the game. And then the other thing it takes out is the take that element. Regular Terraforming Mars has those event cards that allow you to steal things from people, allow you to make people discard things or get rid of things. It was advertised before this came out that Ares Expedition was taking that out of the game. This was to be a more friendly game, a more family weight game, a quicker game, and again, that's just one of my favorite parts. Even though I don't,
you're always on the receiving end of that.
Well,
It's like I'm always on the delivering end of that.
Well, I know that you love to do that, and I know it sidetracks you. So maybe that's why I like it so much, because you like just poking me.
It's
the
a
whole
trap.
time. But yeah,
It's a trap for me. Like I lose points.
It's a trap. Yeah. So
Thanks, Admiral.
yeah. But just a quick. We don't need to get into depth. But what do you? Any feedback?
Any initial
on those two?
thoughts,
Yeah.
Dan?
As far as the games themselves, yeah, you're seeing a lot of bleed over, like the same names, same types of cards.
Right.
The two games really, to me, don't feel like the same game.
Okay.
I liked both of them when I played them, but I still need more time
Sure.
to process by playing the both of them. Terraforming Mars definitely seems like a more, hey, we're going to sit down and play a game for about 4 hours.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's a lot of strategy, and you're playing the long game. As with
Ares Expedition.
Ares Expedition, I had to look at the box. I couldn't remember the name.
Terraforming Mars.
Terraforming Mars,
Ares
Expedition.
Yeah.
It felt more like, I guess, a condensed version of that, but not really, because the board, where you're just flipping the tiles, you're not worried about where you're putting them. You're not worried about what you're going to put there later. So it really doesn't even feel like the same game.
Yeah, I think definitely less to think about there. And that was the point. Again, they were trying to make it quicker. They were trying to make it lighter. A lot of people like Terraforming Mars, but a lot of people say, hey, sometimes I just don't have 4 hours to sit down and play a game, which is true. But again, I'm outspoken on this, and I've said over and over again, I would still I'd rather try to find the time, me personally, to play the full Terraforming Mars than I don't know if I feel, it's weird. I don't know if I feel ripped off in this version. I'm not getting the full experience. I want Terraforming Mars.
It's like you got an appetizer of wings with like 4 wings in it, when you wanted like a 10-wing basket.
Yeah.
Maybe the problem is you're thinking of it as a lighter
replacement
Terraforming Mars.
Yeah.
Well, it's really
Can't.
not. It's
a
they're
different
really
game.
two different games. The way they're played, the mechanics, the way you plan ahead.
I agree. Yeah.
I think it distills down the card aspect, card combos, not the drafting, but the card combos, the actions, all those things that's it. Like that's your distilled down version, and maybe that's part of why I am more high on it than you are, Robert.
Okay, yeah.
Because we talked about this earlier in our Terraforming Mars conversation. I had like one cube on the board at the end of the game.
Oh, yeah.
I don't do the board area control thing. So Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition said, Carlos, this is for you. There is no board control.
Gives you the card play.
Just play the cards.
Yeah.
And I'm all like, yay.
Yeah.
So
all right.
It's different.
Yeah. Like I said, we don't need to get super
But
deep.
the question is, right, because you talked about that. Like, I might want an appetizer or I want the full meal.
Yeah.
Well, at a 2-hour gameplay, like I made fun of you guys for playing your game, which took like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Of Terraforming Mars.
2.5 maybe.
Okay,
But
Ares
sure,
Expedition.
okay, yeah.
I made fun of y'all, but then I realized tonight, as a 4-player game, we took like 2 hours.
It was a good 2 hours
to play that game. Are there other 2-hour games that I'd rather play than that? Probably yes.
Yeah, I'd say probably for me, for sure.
So that's where it hurts it.
I could agree with that. Yeah.
There's so many other 2-hour games I'd rather do than a light version of a flavored game of TI4. A Terraforming Mars.
A Terraforming Mars themed game.
Flavored game.
You just had to work TI4 in there.
I can't.
You can't help it. Yeah. Anyway, but no, that's been my point, and I guess that kind of distills it. What you just said is,
I'd rather play Arnak.
I'd rather play other games.
Dune.
An hour and a half, 2 hours, and then if I'm wanting the Terraforming Mars experience, I'll set aside the 4 hours and do the.
I think that's where it's going to end up for me for Ares Expedition.
Yeah.
I also think that's a really good game for us to buy for the cafe, because there are the people that just can't or don't care to put in the time to play Terraforming Mars.
Sure.
But they might be able to learn this and want to play this.
And it's hugely popular right now. I mean, that's a game that's moving up on all the top 10 lists and everything. So I mean, you're going to find a crowd. I'm in the minority. I know that, and 9 out of 10 reviews I see on it, people just rave about it. So that's fine. I mean, it's
okay for you to be wrong, Robert.
I know I can be wrong sometimes.
Are you telling me that there's a new board game out that people are like super psyched about that'll be forgotten in a couple months?
Oh yeah, well,
that never happens.
That's always the cycle. You know how that is. I mean, come on. What was that? Almost 6,000 new games released last year, I think, at last count. So
that's crazy.
Even I couldn't keep up.
Yeah, I mean, it's nuts.
I think that catches us up on games that we played that we wanted to highlight.
Yeah.
So at this point, we'll come back, take a quick break, come back, and talk about board game acquisitions. All right, folks, we are back to talk about board game acquisitions.
Cool.
And I'll lead us off. Yep. I got a huge list,
Me
Robert.
too. Big list this week.
So one item on my list, and that's it. Just
okay.
one.
Well, you got something to show.
It's a slow week.
Yeah. You got something physically in your hand, but go ahead.
Yep. I picked up the Cursed Horde expansion for Fantasy Realms. So I've really been liking Fantasy Realms. I picked it up because I got Red Rising, found out Fantasy Realms is what led to Red Rising, bought Fantasy Realms, and have played it at just about every meetup. Every time we've gotten together with folks, it plays in 15 minutes. It's so fast. Yep. I think, Dan, you had an opportunity to play it with us.
Refresh my memory. What is Fantasy Realms?
Fantasy Realms is a game where there's going to be a deck of cards. You're going to be drawing a card and discarding a card from your hand in order to build a hand of cards that have a combination of points.
Okay, I remember it. Yeah.
Yep, you're going to combine things like smoke with fire to get bonus points, or ships with floods, or armies and dwarves to try to combine and get points. But it plays like in 15 minutes. It's so rapid fire fast.
It's Red Rising without the board and without all the tracks that you're trying to push up. Yep.
Without the 172 cards.
Yeah. It's a little pared down. Yeah, we're looking at maybe 50 or 60 now.
The Curse Horde expansion adds more cards to the deck, so you're going to get new suits that you can add into the deck, like buildings. But it's also going to give you some more cards of what's already in the deck. And then secondly, it adds a second deck entirely. So there's a whole second deck of cards, and these are going to be item cards that you're going to use. So the item cards, you will draw one at the beginning of the game, put them face up in front of you. It's going to be items that do things, like a spyglass might let you look at another player's hand, right? So these item cards let you do stuff, but when you use the item, so on your turn, you have an option. You A, leave the item face up. 2, you can discard the item for another item from the item deck and put it face down in front or face up in front of you as your new item.
Did you just say A and then 2?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And then Delta.
There you go. Okay.
The third thing that you can do is use the item that's face up in front of you. When you use the item that's face up in front of you, you get the ability for using it, but it usually has negative points because it gives you some kind of bonus. You're going to flip it face down, and then you draw a new item face up in front of you to replace it, so that next turn you have another item to use. So each turn you can use a new item, but now you got to balance the benefit versus the cost of the points, and at the end of the game, all those items are going to be worth negative points for the most part. Some items are actually worth positive points. You want to use them, so they might do things that help your opponents.
Right.
So it just adds a different flavor, a different option, a different decision. May take the game from 15 minutes to maybe 20 or more, but it's a good game. So I figure I'll give this one a shot. We will let you know how it plays at the next game day, because it is coming along with me.
Have to mix it in and play, and that's one that Michael Lorenzo introduced me to probably, about 6 months ago. He had played it many times, and it's just a deck of cards, so he brings it around a lot of places. And finally, it's a filler that we just never had a chance to get to the table. And then finally, the day we sat down and he introduced it, and I said, "Oh yeah, this is good. I like this a lot." It's Red Rising, which I thought was okay, but again, takes all that other stuff out of it. Just the deck, the card play of Red Rising is what this one's all about. And I like it a lot just because you can reset it. There's a lot of luck in it. If you get a bad draw, the cards don't come out with what you need. But the good thing about it being 15, 20 minutes is you can reset it and play it 3 times in an hour. And if you have one bad draw, next one you get a good one. So it's fun.
Yeah, Michael brought up at the last podcast about the expansion, and that's what triggered my acquisition disorder.
Yeah,
to buy it.
And just real quick on it, the BGG Fantasy Realms, at least the base here, is 7.5 rating. It's overall number 359. Family game 58, so in the top 60 for best family games. It's 3 to 6 players, 20 minutes long. It says ages 14 and up, and it's a 1.75 on the weight scale. So
I agree with that.
Yeah, definitely on the lighter side. Yeah, as long as you can read and match up some keywords from cards, anybody can play it. So, but yeah, it's a good time game, and it's Bruce Glasgow, who's designed several other good games that I like, and it's from WizKids. So.
Yep, that's my acquisition for the whole week. That's it. That's all I've gotten.
Well, I've got one this week. I didn't have any last week, so this is definitely a step up for me.
100% increase.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of a kind of an acquisition at this point. It's a game that I don't physically have in my hands yet, but the guy sitting across the table from me was able to acquire. As far as I know, they're still not printing this in the U.S. yet. I say still not. I mean, it's a brand new game. It was I can't remember if it was the Spiel or the Kenner Spiel that it just won.
I think it was Kenner. I think it was the family.
Okay, last week. I think that's right. Yeah, last week, the Spiel des Jahres Micro Macro. And it's funny, Dan and I were playing Arkham Horror over at the shop at Your Turn. I think it was this last Monday, so 5 nights ago, and we were talking about it. I mentioned the Spiel and the Kenner Spiel had come out, and I think I mentioned that on the show last week. I said that as soon as I could find a copy of it, I would be picking that up. And then Dan kind of disappeared for a minute and came back over with a box and just pulled out 3 copies of it and flopped them on the table. And he said, "Hey, look what I just got from overseas. I thought, was it Germany or somewhere you had them brought in from?" Yeah, there we go. A friend over in Europe was able to ship him a few copies of it. So I told him, I was like, yes, please. I will definitely take one of those. So I'm definitely looking forward. I talked a little bit in the last show, so I won't get into all the details again. But this was a game that I was really looking forward to. There's a part of the game that's coded for family play. Some of it that's a little lighter and a little more less violent, I guess. And so some of those decks that you can play through are specifically for family play. And then there's some that are a little more mature theme, and those are marked again in the game, so you know what's what. That I look forward to playing with my gamer buddies. So we'll have to pull those out and play. And so I think Dan got 3 copies. He's keeping one for the cafe. Yeah,
correct.
And I'm acquiring a copy. And did you say, Carlos, you might be interested in the 3rd copy?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I'd be interested in this one, but after you talked about it and I did some research on it, my wife's into the whole detective thing.
Okay, yeah.
After getting her to play some Sagrada, I thought maybe I can get her to play something like this, because it's not so much a board game as more of an activity, like a Where's Waldo activity. After we talked about it last week's show,
yep.
It kind of got me thinking this might fit like my family style. My wife's style. Not a game, not a board game to be exact, but maybe an activity, a map we can throw it on the board and hunt and peck with our magnifying glasses.
Yeah, just real quick, the BGG on this one, it's 7.9 rating currently. It is new, so it doesn't have a whole lot of ratings yet. But Europe, it's all over Europe right now. Obviously, the Spiel, the Kenner Spiel is going to sell, tens of thousands of copies of it just from that alone. But overall, right now, ranked 379. Family game ranked number 49. It says 1 to 4 players, 15 to 45 minutes. A weight of a 1.13. I mean, you can't go lower than a 1.
Right. That's what really got me thinking, okay, this might actually work. It's easier than Sagrada.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's see. Designer Johannes Sich, S-I-C-H is the last name, and lots of publishers, mostly overseas. Spielwise, I see on here.
Yeah, we have no idea which version we got.
Yeah, Pegasus Spiel is one of the designers.
That's the one I got.
Pegasus Spiel version. Yep, that's right. I saw that in the box. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing this one. So I appreciate Dan revealing that and giving me the first shot at picking that up. So
making that happen.
Very excellent. So now Carlos and I are going to take a little nap while Dan, the owner and proprietor again of Your Turn, a Board Game Cafe, tells us about all the acquisitions he's made recently. So take it away, Dan.
These are just the ones I can remember. So.
Okay, off the top of his head.
Now, but let's get some context here.
Oh, okay,
before we get started here, I know at the cafe, there's a sign that talks about how many games are at the cafe.
Hanging on the wall.
And how many days it's been since a new game has been acquired.
Yeah.
What's the sign's current stats as we sit today?
I believe it's 1,570 games.
That's not too bad.
Currently.
Yeah, not too
Ish.
bad. Yeah.
That's without the ones I'm about to talk about, too. So I haven't added those yet.
Okay.
And then a friend of ours was selling off some games, and I bought about 15 or 20 off of them.
Yeah, okay.
Jeez.
Yeah. I can't imagine it's been more than, a couple days since your last acquisition? So.
Yeah, that's because everyone's on vacation.
Oh, yeah. It's been slow. Okay, I got you.
And that's going to change probably tomorrow. I'm probably going to open a couple and get them on the shelves for when we do open back up after everybody comes back from vacation.
And every one of these, you go through, you punch them, you make sure that they're sleeved and they're ready to go for customers to use.
Correct. And anything that comes with or already has an expansion or a playmat, we also put a card in each game that has an expansion or playmat to let people know that those things are available, and then we'll get them for them when they ask.
Cool.
Each one of these games he talks about, those thousands of games that he's talking about, he has had to sleeve and prep.
Oh,
and
I've helped with a little bit, a little teeny
No.
portion. I think me and my family did, 1 or 2 games?
We did Dark Souls.
Yeah, okay. It was a big game, but lots of sleeves, lots
Yeah,
of
I
cards.
did a few GMT games. I went
Okay.
over there before he opened. And
Yeah, me
helped
too.
sleeve
Yeah.
some GMT
Yeah.
games.
Been there, done that. Yep.
Yeah, I think looking back on our purchases for sleeves, I think we've put close to 300,000 sleeves
wow.
into the library
I don't doubt it.
that
Yeah.
we've used just for the games in the library.
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah. So
I'm stunned at that number.
what's on the list there?
All right. Well, our most recent Kickstarter arrival is Shovel Knight.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't got to play it yet. I know a little bit about the side-scrolling
The
game.
video game, yeah.
I think Michael talked about this one last week, right?
He
He
mentioned
did.
it. Yeah.
And then just a few days ago, maybe 4 or 5 days ago, he came to the cafe with one of his sons, and they played it, but I didn't have a chance to get involved in it.
Yeah.
The one that you just already brought up, Micro Macro.
Yeah.
We recently got Downforce, which I don't
That's a
know
good
why.
one.
I don't know why we didn't have it
It's a
because
good game.
it's a very fun and easy to teach game.
Right.
So, being the Board Game Cafe, I went ahead and made sure I got all the expansion tracks at the same time, too.
Oh, yeah.
So we have all those.
Yeah, I'd call that a family weight racing game. It's really pretty easy to understand. And, I could see 10, 12-year-olds playing that.
I could see that one being left on a table dedicated for every hour.
Just the
a
walk-ins.
game gets run and
Yeah.
walk-ins get played on that.
Yeah.
And that's what we're hoping to do more like that with the expansion. We'll have the extra tables to have this stuff set up, and people can go, I want to play this, and then we can just teach them right on the spot.
Let's be there. That's cool. Yeah.
I got a game called Wavelength. I looked a little bit of it
Oh, yeah.
up, but
I know
I
that one.
didn't know too much about it. I just saw that it was gaining a lot of steam, so I wanted to get a copy before prices maybe got dumb. 'Cause
Yeah.
that happens every now and
Seems
then.
extremely popular for some reason in Europe. I mean, people here in the States are saying good things about it too, but it seems like every reviewer I see overseas, that's like one of their favorite party games of all time now. is
Right, it's like a
Wavelength.
party group game.
Yeah, yeah. It looks like a lot of fun. So we'll have to try that sometime when we have a group
It's
of
got
people
a
out there.
gimmicky type of like a dial
Like a
thing.
toy
Right.
almost thing, yeah, like something you see on The Price is Right or
Yeah.
something where set it in the right spot, yeah.
Yeah,
if you
that's
got
all
it.
I know about is you have to kind of set it in the right spot, and then there's like either a question or something that people have to answer, and if they get at a certain place
Right.
within a certain number of that answer, they get points. And
All right, there's one person who's judging it, who sets the dial, and then there's a window that slides across to hide where they set it, and then they kind of reveal it, and then everybody around has to try to predict what the person who said it would have answered, and then they slide it open, and they set the dial, and then they slide it open, and it shows the range of where the other person had it. They have to be within the range. So, yeah, it looks like a lot of fun.
Are we on the same wavelength?
Yeah.
We picked up a copy of Jaws finally.
Yeah.
I've seen a few people play
Good
it,
game.
and they say it's really fun.
I have it. Yeah,
I still want to play it.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I still want to play it.
We'll have to play it. It's a pretty quick one. It's got two different scenes, kind of two different halves, and they play entirely different. It's two different, completely different kinds of games, but it's a lot of fun. And the second half is a kind of like a Ameritrash. It's just trying to kill the shark. You're trying to zap it and throw barrels at it.
Now,
And
does a player play as the shark?
They do. So all the way through, it's
That's fun.
one against everybody. So it's one against up to, I think it's up to 4 players. So one against 3, or if there's one person, 2 people, the other just plays all 3 of the roles.
Was that a Target exclusive?
I think
Don't know.
it initially was for, I think, the first month, the first 30 days it was,
Okay.
and then it went to mass market. But yeah, I know Target's been running sales on it. I've been seeing like $10 at Target.
I've been trying to stay away from it because I know you own it.
Yeah, it's a good one. We'll play it sometime. Yeah.
We've been getting a lot of people that love to play the escape room type games.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
Those are really, because we get groups that come in that don't know anything about modern gaming, and all they know is stuff from their childhood.
Sure.
But with that, you can give it to a group of 7 or 8 people. They'll open it, they'll read the one leaflet of directions, and they'll just start.
Yeah.
And then they're all working together. And those
Are they
go
really
over
that
well.
simple?
Yes.
Because Rob
They teach you.
gave me one that they already beat. I haven't busted it out because I feel like I'm a little afraid it might be a little too complex, but it really
No.
is like a walk through and learn game.
It's like one little pamphlet of rules. I know. The Unlock is the one that I gave you, and it's just one little pamphlet and the deck of cards is all that one is.
And as
So,
soon as you
yeah.
start playing, you just read the first card, and it'll lead you
Yep.
through the rest of them where to go.
Yeah. So,
Especially with the exit and the unlock games, because they're mostly just cards in those boxes.
right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, the unlocks are really easy to pick up. And let me just to touch on, I know I don't want to go too far, but I had asked you about the Exit series because I haven't ever played any of the Exit games, but from what I understood is that the Exit games, most if not all of them, had destructible components. And so how do you handle that at the game shop?
Yeah.
Most of them you can continue to play without destroying it. You can just say, oh, that's destroyed, and just
Okay.
like toss it off to the side. There's nothing that you have to like, none of them have like cards you have to bend in order to get a clue or anything like that.
Oh, you're not scratching off like
Right,
in
no.
the legacy games where you scratch off a to reveal a number.
Right,
So
no.
instead of destroying, you set it aside.
Right, that's all. I just ask people, whenever I see people break it out, I just say, hey, if it comes to a point where it says to destroy something, just please don't.
And I heard some of them have like math puzzles and stuff to do like that, where you would normally just take out a pencil and write on it, but maybe do you have them maybe write on a different piece of paper?
Yeah,
or
we just
something?
give them scratch paper to
Okay,
use. Yeah,
gotcha.
it works just as fine.
Okay. Okay.
A lot of them too, if you look online, there are people that have made printable sheets
Okay. To read.
with they like laid the cards out already on them, so people can actually just write on the cards by
Okay.
writing on the paper and stuff like that.
There you go. Okay, that works then. Yeah. I'll have to give those a
If
shot.
there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah,
there's-
people will figure it out.
And those are like the easier ones. There are more complicated ones that are like escape room games, because we have this section that we bought. There's like 5 or 6 of them, and it looks like a police case file.
Okay.
It's like in an evidence
Oh, yeah,
bag.
yeah. I've seen those. Yeah.
You open it up, you pull out the folder, you open it up, and there's like all the suspects, their picture, their rap sheets, all the
Right.
stuff and surveillance. I mean, it's just a table full of stuff that you have to work with your group to figure out who did it, where, but those take a lot longer. It's a lot more. It's not like it's a lot more rules, but it's a lot more complicated.
Kind of like the was it the Sherlock Holmes series that had like there was old newspapers and stuff you pull out of the box and you're reading
Yeah, it
articles.
was a lot of.
and,
It felt like artifacts inside
Right.
the box.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is probably like a bridge between exit games
Okay.
and the Sherlock, because the Sherlock Holmes consulting detective games
Right.
are deep.
Okay.
You better be ready to read.
That's what I've heard.
for
Yeah.
hours, look at the map, look at the papers, and just
Yeah.
But it's
This is-
immersive.
Yeah.
it is. No, I don't have a problem with that, but it gives you like a middle ground. Like, this is too easy, and I don't want to do all that. Oh, I
Okay.
can do this one in 2 hours.
Cool. Yeah. Maybe we'll have to give those a shot sometime. Yeah, I saw Dan showed them to me last time I was up there and showed me one of the little envelopes, and they look like fun. Yeah.
Another one I just recently contacted. I don't know if you may have seen them online in advertisements. There's a game that you play called Hunt a Killer where they send you something every month.
Right.
Like Facebook keeps showing me that one over and over
Yeah.
again.
Mhm.
Well, they've been doing it for a long time, and I've been talking with them. They actually have each season in a box with all the modules in it that you can play through, and each one takes like 2 or 3 hours, and then the whole season takes like 15 hours.
Cool.
So I'm talking to them about acquiring those for the shop for people that really want to
Dive in deep.
dive into it, or just set something up like every week we're going to continue to do this. And
Yeah.
so that's even more complicated than the case file ones, probably
Sure.
up there along. And in those, there's like real evidence. They'll like send you little pieces of evidence and
Right.
everything.
Which feels cool.
Yeah, I feel like you're doing something.
And now that you said the name of the game, I'm sure my Facebook's going to remind me again.
Oh yeah, of course, because it hears you. It
Yeah,
knows-
Facebook hears you.
It hears what you're saying.
One that's been out for a long time, Abomination. We got a copy of that. I know I saw that being played a lot at Escape WinterCon, the last one that was
Yep.
allowed
Yep.
before COVID hit us.
Yeah, I know William really wants to play that. I've got a copy of it. He keeps asking me when I'm going to learn the rules and, and break it out. So we'll have to get to that sooner than later.
Search for Planet X. It's a deduction game. I know those are some of Rob's favorite
Oh
games.
yeah, I love those.
So
Not so much, but okay.
I played this one with Mike because Mike had a copy, and it has an app that comes with it. So when
Right.
you do things, you can just type it in there, and it'll tell you if you're right or wrong without having to reveal
it.
anything to other players and stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
Beyond the Sun, I know you've been talking about it.
I've played it.
I've been looking the prices seem a little high for it right now. So
popular.
I'm trying to, because it's popular. It's like I'll wait till the prices drop back down. But that one's on my list.
Yeah, I played it one time. Nicholas Terry brought it over to one of the game days at Armada a couple of months back, and it was fun. It didn't knock my socks off, but it was fun, and I would definitely play it again. I was kind of on the fence on is this one I need to own, or is this one that I can get enough out of just playing maybe other people's copies of it? And I think it's going to fall in that category, although it's going to be at the top, near the top of that list. It was a fun game. I want to try it again. Yeah.
I think the theme is what pushes me to keep eyeballing it, because although it's space, it's not like sci-fi. It's like science.
Yeah, it's
right?
Tech Tree the game is what everybody keeps calling
Tech
it.
Tree the game.
Yeah, it's one giant tech tree, and it really is. The board is just one giant tech tree, but there's a sideboard where you do a little planetary exploration and battling. But 90% of the game is the tech tree. So
And that's going to be a big plus for me, too, because I'm a big sucker for science games that are based
Right.
in real science.
Yeah.
I mean...
this one stretches it a little
Realistic.
bit, but yeah, it's realistic. I mean, these are things you could see in the future. So yeah,
Yeah, because I recently we got our Kickstarter in a little while ago of Space Race. I know that's another one where it's in the space program, and I think in the 60s or 70s
Yeah,
during the
that's-
Cold War, and
that's one I've seen too. I want to try. Yeah,
Those are the kind of themes that I gravitate to. Oh, you see what I did there?
gravitate.
wow.
So punny.
Well,
Anyway,
continuing with the space
moving right
theme,
along. Yeah.
I got a copy of Planetarium and the expansions for the library. That's
Cool.
another one that's a space theme. I don't know much about it.
I don't know much on
but
that
I've
one
had
either.
a couple people ask about it, so that's why
Okay.
if I get 2 or 3 people to ask for something, we get it for the
Cool.
library.
Yeah.
Except you guys, because you just
Yeah,
asked
no,
for really
we'd ask for everything.
expensive- Yeah,
We give you. A
I've been
list of-
asking for Cuban sandwiches since we started.
Oh, don't bring that up. Yeah.
not happening.
Touchy subject.
And then we got a small game called Cat Lady because it was on sale.
Yep.
But I've already had 2 or 3 customers come and go, "Oh, you have that?
It's a
I love
popular-
that
it's a
game." And they
popular
pulled it
game.
off the shelf and played, even though they have it.
I've heard lots of people like that game. It's
And I got an expansion for it. I just thought these people flipped out. There's an expansion? I didn't know there was an expansion. I'm like, really? You guys are that excited?
yeah.
Okay.
I've heard good things.
Providing a service.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I might have to try it now if I see so many people being excited about Ben.
Yeah.
Is one of the
Really?
people.
Oh,
yeah.
He said they play that at home all the
Yeah,
time.
it's a popular game. Yeah.
And he saw the expansion.
I've never
He's
heard
like,
of
I
this
need to
game.
go buy that now. I didn't know the
I've
expansion
never
was out.
heard of this game.
well, you have to break it in.
Wait for Ben to set up a teach
game
and play.
day. Yeah. A teach play. Yeah.
Speaking of, this Sunday, we are teaching role player and cartographers.
Excellent.
Role player at 2, cartographers at 4. We are still officially closed because we're on vacation, but anybody that comes for those are welcome to come in.
Awesome. You're not making them stand outside and watch through the window? No.
No, just the people that don't participate.
Oh, okay. No, I'm very familiar with the role player. Carlos is too. It puts him to sleep. We know, so that's his bedtime. Yeah, we're not going to let that go. But
how can you not like it's all math and stuff? It's fun.
He called it balancing the checkbook, I believe, is what you called it.
And yes, that's the words I used.
Did you play with any of the expansions?
No, we played just the base game. This was Dice Tower. It had to be 4 in the morning.
I say 4 years ago.
Well, that doesn't count.
Yeah.
Because I remember Ryan was playing, what's that income game where you lay them up?
Oh, yeah, that old classic. That was from the
that
60s
real
or 70s
old
or
one.
something. Yeah.
And you're laying stocks on top of stocks anyway. Because I remember specifically that time. It was like 4 in the morning. It's like one of the last games you played before you rushed off to bed. I fell asleep.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, I've seen you fall asleep at Thunder Alley.
And I love Thunder Alley.
Yeah.
I know, so that doesn't matter. Yeah, that's irrelevant.
Falling asleep is not an indicator of the quality of your game.
But Cartographers is one I want to play. That's one I'm definitely late to the game on. I haven't had a chance.
That's a flip and fill?
Flipping right, yeah.
Flipping right?
Yeah, I really like that one a lot because you're working on your own map to try and optimize your score depending on what cards come up and which ones you choose. But there's also an element of, I forget what they're called. It's like these monsters that come up on your cards.
Your opponents draw them on, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Everyone
cool.
passes their card to their left. Their opponent draws the monsters on your board in that shape where they want to.
So you got
to mess with you the most.
Player
and then
interaction.
You just get your card back, and if you don't surround those monsters, you lose points. So it's a really fun game.
That's cool.
It's really just some take that in the flip and fill.
There's not a lot of interaction in the flip and fill roll and write world.
Yeah.
That's some direct interaction. I like that.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that it comes up and everyone is equally penalized. It's just up to the player to draw something on your map that's going to mess you up the most.
Yeah, and you get points for putting this kind of thing adjacent to that kind of thing, but somebody knows you're trying to do that, so they throw a monster right in the middle. So you got to figure out how to get around that monster to get back to where you need to be. So, yeah, it looks like a lot of fun.
That aspect of the game is real fun. The fact that it penalizes everyone equally.
Yeah.
It's not like somebody's getting a bunch of lucky draws and penalizing somebody over and over again. You're all going to get it no matter what.
Triggers a bad event for everybody.
Right.
Yeah. Cool.
I like that.
I know with Arkham Horror we already talked about, but I finally got
Oh, yeah.
the Innsmouth Conspiracy, the entire pack. So
Yeah.
we're excited to get to that one in a couple of years eventually. When we get there.
We'll
when we
get
get to
there.
the fifth big expansion.
So is that 100% complete acquisition of all things Arkham Horror LCG?
All of the main series
all of the main stuff.
Yeah.
I think I'm missing 1 or 2 of the standalones because
one shots.
they ran out of print and people want too much for them now. So when they do the second printing, I'll grab them.
Suck
Okay.
'em up, yeah.
That's an achievement.
Oh yeah, but there's tons of stuff out there for that. So I think you said you have a small crate at home full of Arkham stuff. So yeah,
I'm slowly transferring them to because every cycle has a return to box where you
Right.
can go back and it has new cards to add in so you can play it again and make it harder and different.
Mm-hmm.
And those all come with a long box.
Right.
So I've been transferring everything into those
Get into
now
those.
because they have dividers and everything and it fits all the sleeve cards because we sleeve everything because we have to for the most part.
Yeah.
Speaking of sleeves, we just finally got in the regular size, like the 63.5 by 88.
A standard card
Standard
size.
card size. They finally came back in stock, and I bought 150 packs
Wow.
because we go through them so fast. And
Yeah,
a couple of the other sizes, I bought a whole bunch of extra too that we keep running out, like the Blood Bowl size and stuff like that.
Oh, good, because I'm going to need some more of those. Yeah, I bought a whole bunch of the standard size from you and the mini size from you last time you got an order in because it was a drought for a while there.
Yeah, I think when you bought those standard sizes, that was, I think, it, except for like one pack. It's been sitting on the shelf and somebody finally came in and bought it. But now I can actually restock everything.
I remember seeing that and I was like, oh, I'll take them all, but I'll leave one in case somebody needs one.
You're so nice.
I think it was Rob.
Yeah.
Robert Hunter.
Hunter picked it up.
I think he came in and bought it, yeah.
Funny.
Well, that's all that I can remember off the top of my head
Oh,
and
okay.
from the list I made.
Well, that's
But
pretty good
I'm
off the
sure
top of your head.
No, it's
yeah.
a great list.
Yeah.
But I know Ankh is showing
Oh,
up
yeah.
now,
Yeah,
and
it's-
that we have a copy of that for the cafe. And I've got a couple other notices. We get so much stuff that I don't even check to see what's shipping anymore.
This is like a whole nother segment we can add to the show whenever Dan shows
Dan
up.
acquisitions. Yeah.
Right, it's like just talking about the different games he bought and what we think of them, what we know about them. That's a whole like huge segment.
yeah. Which is awesome.
I know.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
'Cause I'm realizing how late the hour's getting to right now, and I'm just here smiling, talking about games, and
Maybe we can make it an offshoot podcast where I just come talk about the
Yeah.
15 or 20 things we got in the past week.
Updates to the cafe. Yeah.
Call it acquisition disorder.
yeah, something like that. At 2 in the morning.
What you do is you open a board game cafe, so you can continue to have the disorder,
Gives you an excuse.
and it's all tax write-offs at the same time.
Yeah, it's
so
good business. Yeah,
I wonder if I could do that with like Oreos.
good business.
I don't know if that would be a viable business.
If I eat all my
Get the
Oreos.
write-off for that. Yeah.
Well, that was our acquisitions for this past week. We're going to take a quick break and come back to you to talk about all other things gaming, gaming adjacent, and gaming news. Hey, folks, we're back. We're talking about gaming adjacent topics, or what we also call other geeky goodness, things like miniatures gaming or modeling or painting or TV shows or anything geek adjacent that we enjoy to talk about. So, Rob, start us off.
Okay. Well, mine is going to be a little bit of news. I've got a couple just news things. One of them is some kind of breaking news here just in the last, I think probably in the 24 hours, and I heard about it today on the Dice Tower. Tasty Minstrel Games, which is I own several of their games, and they, to kind of make a long story short, a few years back, they decided to not go completely public with the company. They sold some shares of the company, but not opening it up like to a stock exchange or anything like that. So they sold off so little bits that people could invest and be part of the company. And by doing that, it required them to be more public with information about the company, how the company was doing and things. And so they just released their last year review, the report to those shareholders. And unfortunately, it was a lot of bad news.
Oh, wow.
They have revealed that they have or are laying off almost everybody in the company. There's only, I think, 2 people that are going to remain. The owner and the CEO of the company are the only 2 that are going to be left. They're cleaning house. They've announced that they have a negative book value right now, so they're actually worth negative money. They're having I guess their last Kickstarter. I don't know what the game was actually off the top of my head, but they are offering refunds on it now. They're contacting anybody who backed that, and I don't know if they're completely abandoning the project, or if it's going to be on the long-term radar. Officially, they're not in bankruptcy yet, from what I understand. Although they are practically, bankrupt at this point. They owe more money than what they can produce, and so they've announced that they will not be working on developing any more board games for at least the next 2 to 3 years. They're going to focus on some of their smaller items right now. Actually, from what I understand, they're going to go heavy into dice. I was not aware of that, but I guess they have a dice branch that is one part of the company that's not failing. But as they discussed a little bit, Steve Bonacore was on the Dice Tower this morning for Board Game Breakfast, and he was talking a little bit about some of the behind-the-scenes stuff. But he was mentioning that we don't hear about this with a lot of companies. A lot of companies just kind of in the board game business, since they're not public and people don't own a stake in them, they just kind of disappear. They fade away, and one day you're like, oh, whatever happened to that company? And like, oh, well, they went out of business a couple years ago, and it's kind of on the down low. But this was a little unique because they have to put out this public report that we're kind of seeing the behind the scenes that hopefully for Tasty Minstrel's sake and for people who enjoy their games, and I own several of their games that this is not a company that will be going out of business. Hopefully they can reorganize. Hopefully they can recover from this. But I understand that the pandemic hit them particularly hard. I guess they had games that were on boats that got held up. The shipping costs went through the roof, and a lot of their stuff just wasn't delivering. And so,
I mean, we're talking about a big company here. We're talking about Orleans, Eminent Domain.
Yeah, they've got a lot of
Coliseum, Dungeon Roll.
Yeah,
I mean, Crusaders That Will Be Done, Scoville. These are some big games. This is not a small thing.
Yeah, they own a lot of titles. It'll be interesting to see in the coming year or two if they divest some of these titles to try to recoup some money. They may have to give up the rights on some of these and let other companies handle the distribution and reprinting, or handle the rights to them, just to try to kind of dig out of the hole here. But so it's really kind of sad news to hear for a big game company. But in the time we're in, and Bonacor again talked a little bit about this morning, that we're going to probably unfortunately see more of this, and it's benefiting some companies because some of the big mega companies that are going to be able to weather this are going to be able to pick up some of these titles like Orleans and things like that and bring them into their library. So I don't think those games are going away. But again, a company like Tasty Minstrel, they've done good things in the past. They've put out good games. It'd be nice to see them be able to succeed and continue and do things. But so hopefully, like I say, hopefully they'll be able to reorganize and pull through, and we'll see them on the other side in a couple of years. But a little disappointing to hear that they won't be doing anything board game development or any new designs or anything for at least a couple of years, it sounds like. So.
That may be the reason they're holding off on the bankruptcy, because then they would have to divest properties in order to repay creditors and things like that. So they may be seeing how long they can go and maybe keep and reorganize without a full bankruptcy.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see. We'll try to keep up to date on that and see. But yeah, unfortunately, again, a lot of these smaller companies I kind of worry about a little bit, that some companies that haven't seemed to put out anything in a little while, hopefully they don't start disappearing.
Dan, any topics for you gaming adjacent wise?
Oh, sure. I got plenty.
Go for it.
I don't know if either one of you know anything about the what they call game books, like choose your own adventure style game books. They're like the original ones and things they put out in the 80s and things like that. Those are worth a ton of money now, the old ones.
Really?
I have a big collection.
I wish I would have kept all mine.
Yeah,
I have a huge collection at home that I'm contemplating selling off.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because I have some that are worth $200 a book, and I might have 80 of them.
Nice.
Whoa.
So I have a pretty good chunk of money that I might end up using. But I bring that up because Van Ryder Games puts out the graphic novel adventures.
Yep.
And I've been on every Kickstarter from before we opened the cafe to now. But now I'm able to buy straight through them and get the product. So we are going to have all 16 of the ones that have been released so far.
Cool.
The box sets, there's like a Sherlock Holmes box set and the Crusoe Crew box set also.
We own that. Actually, both of
I
us.
have a Sherlock Holmes, one of the Sherlock Holmes books.
Yep. And then you picked up another one.
I can't remember the name of it, but it's a darker one. It's the kidnapping one, but they're not easy.
Captive. Yeah.
Yes, they're not easy.
Oh, no. Yeah.
I have not beat that one.
And they are rated. If you look at them, there are ones that are more kid-friendly that aren't as hard, and the ones that are like Captive is more of an adult one because it deals with kidnapping and stuff like that. It's a lot harder. That's one of the harder ones.
Yeah, it's kind of like Liam Neeson Taken, right? Your daughter's taken, you got to go get her back, and I'm sorry, honey, I just couldn't do it. I've lost that game a dozen times.
Your set of skills didn't pay off.
No, I have a set of skills, and this is not one of them.
Well, no, we both picked up two of the books. We both picked up the original Sherlock one, and then I got the Tears of the Goddess, which is the Japanese themed one. And I know we did that the year they came out. They were at Dice Tower in the vendor area, and neither one of us had heard of really Van Ryder or this series at all. And we stopped by the booth, and they talked us into it, and we both were pretty excited.
It didn't take much.
I mean,
the artwork's beautiful. The books themselves being hardcover the way they are.
Yeah.
You can see that they're quality, tough books.
Yeah, and then we both, a year later, I think at the next Dice Tower, we both picked up that Crusoe Crew, and I played through all that with my family, which was fun. All four of us were able to play through that in 4 or 5. I can't remember how many it plays, but anyway, we played through once. You can do it multiple times, and there's some different endings and stuff that you can experience. But yeah, that's cool. So you're going to have a display with everything they've made so far. Yeah?
Correct. Yeah, and I was kind of shocked because I've backed the Kickstarters over the years.
Yeah.
When they put out the little box sets, and when I got my order for being a retailer, I didn't know they had 16 books out already. I was kind of surprised by that, and along with other box sets and stuff also. So
yeah, cool.
It'll be nice to get that out there, and that aspect of Van Ryder Games is doing that product for them is doing great.
Yeah.
Especially with the pandemic, people sitting home reading books, things like that. That's gone through the roof. I'm sure that series is going to continue for quite a while.
Yeah, those are fun, and they're definitely gamery level. Most of them, I'm sure they have them at all different levels, and we've only played a couple of them. But I heard some are much harder than others, and the Sherlock was fairly light, although it wasn't easy.
It wasn't easy.
Yeah, it grades you at the end of how you've done it. Actually, I went through that one twice, and both times I don't think I got above about a 50% grade. So yeah, they're not easy, but they're fun. Yeah.
Yeah, along with that, we're getting ready to really expand our Games Workshop
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
selection there. So
GW, yeah.
we're getting ready to add a lot more. Like we only have that one big shelf now, but we're adding 3 more of those shelves.
Okay.
So we'll
Oh, wow.
have a big chunk of stuff as far as Blood Bowl and Warhammer and Age of Sigmar and all the other 5,000 properties they have available. Try and get the good parts of them for people.
Cool.
That's where my gaming adjacent piece is I've been chasing down as much information as I can get regarding the new Kill Team redo. Right, so if you look down there, Dan, for those viewers at home, that whole lower left-hand corner is all Kill Team stuff.
The orange down
that
there.
haven't even opened, and then I got bins of it in the garage that I have opened and assembled.
So what is Kill Team?
So Kill Team is a skirmish level game from Games Workshop using the 40K models, so all the armies and the models. So you're playing with at most 10 or so models from the 40K world instead of 300 model armies. And you're playing on a small board, maybe a 3x3 size board, 3 foot by 3 foot, and you have very specific objective missions that you're playing. Each game might be a little different. You kind of flip cards to determine what the objectives are going to be for each of those games. And you build your army, you meet up with a buddy, and you play a quick match, hour and a half of combat instead of 3-4 hours. But the Kill Team, the original one, which I got into heavily, the rule set is a straight port from the 40K rule set with modifications to allow you to play in the skirmish world. And as much as I love the idea of the game and the world of the game, that rule set really fell flat for me after some tournaments and some play. It really couldn't port that system. One game I've been talking about a lot is Warcry, which is one that has successfully done it. It's based off of the Age of Sigmar world, Warcry, but it's skirmish level. But they did not port the rules. They created their own rule set specifically for skirmish level gaming. So they just announced this about a week ago that Kill Team is getting a full rules update. It's going to be more in the Warcry vein, not anything to do with the 40K rule set. It's going to be its own rule set, really giving you a better product that fits the skirmish world. So I've been reading all the articles and watching as many videos as I can, just waiting to get more information from Games Workshop on when this new box set is going to come out. And the box set is huge, too. It's going to be an amazing, beautiful box set of terrain, of models. It's going to be the Astra Militarum, which are like the Imperial Guard, versus orcs.
Right.
In this new box set for a Kill Team setup. So I'm super excited. That's what I've been doing as my side gaming, is just a lot of reading about Kill Team and a lot of the changes that they've done.
Yeah, of course, we sell the Games Workshop products, but I really don't have time to play them, especially a 300-piece army. I'm never going to get there.
Yeah.
But skirmish level would be something that I would be interested in. So I'm going to dive more into the Warcry and the Kill Team stuff. I'll talk with my rep about what the timeline is for when they're putting out the new stuff.
Yeah, and that's going to lend better to tournaments at your shop at that skirmish level, because you can support smaller, faster tournaments.
Yeah, I think we're going to focus mostly on, now that I know what this is, that type of stuff, Blood Bowl.
Right.
And what's the condensed version of...
So there's Blitz Bowl, right?
Blitz Bowl.
This is Shadespire, which is another Warhammer product that Robert is pulling from my Warhammer shelf of shame.
Yeah, just dig on in there.
Yep, and these are GW products, which are lighter, faster. This one's a Barnes & Noble edition, but the Underworlds versions, I think I got this one at Barnes & Noble. You can get this one through GW. Underworlds is like more board gamey than even a skirmish game. So like the Warcry, you're going to use a ruler, measuring tape, terrain. This uses a board
Hexes.
and some deck building with hexes, which Robert was more fond of, to give you the competitive feel. We did a lot of tournaments of this stuff too.
I'm glad we're talking about this right now, because I have to place my order tomorrow.
Oh,
so
good
now,
timing.
Now I can concentrate more on that. We're still going to carry...
You can open this up and take a look when we're done.
They're probably in the... probably at least 6 different versions, 4 to 6 different versions of the Underworld box sets that come with different armies, and then over there you'll see like 5 or 6 different armies that I've bought, because I bought a few box sets. Yeah, I have a problem.
Yeah.
I have a
You like
problem.
to acquire
I'm
things.
going to make it worse.
Yeah,
because we're going to have
it's not gonna help.
tournaments
Yeah,
and
not going to help.
we're going to have product just staring at you every time you come now.
And that's the thing, is just so many games, so little time. And Robert's not a huge skirmish gamer like that, the whole one-on-one combat.
Right.
But if you build a community, that's something that I'd be in.
Well, we're putting this expansion on so we have more space.
Yeah.
So we want to do more tournaments. Maybe not a 24, 26 people tournament, but we can do a 10 or a 12, and we'll have plenty of room for that.
Right, and these lend themselves to what I loved about like X-Wing was the tournament night, weeknight. So like every weeknight on a certain night was X-Wing night or Shadespire night, right? Because they play in 30 to 40 minutes for these smaller skirmish games. So you can get 3 games in a night, do a quick tournament, kind of feel like a winner when you walk out placing. Robert used to show up to those for X-Wing as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Definitely be adding that.
So that's my gaming adjacent stuff. Rob, you got any more gaming adjacent topics?
Just one other news thing I wanted to mention, and this was something that was announced again, I think within the last just day or two, or maybe a couple days ago. I think I heard about it, but they announced, it was Fantasy Flight announced that they are no longer going to be putting out any new content for the Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition. It's been a very popular game. It's been about 3 or 4 years, I guess, at least now. Well, maybe a little longer than that. They have a ton of content out there. There's a good amount of stuff out there. There's hours and hours and hours of stuff that you can play through right now. But some people were disappointed to hear. On the flip side of that, though, from my understanding, the press conference where they announced this, somebody had questioned when they announced that there would be no more 2nd Edition stuff coming, had asked about whether that's the end of Mansions of Madness or if there would be a 3rd edition, and the designers, the company, was very coy about their answer. They said, well, all we're going to say is that this is the end of 2nd edition. And so there's a lot of speculation now, of course, that maybe a 3rd edition will be rolling around soon. I'm sure they don't want to announce that sooner than they have to, just because they don't want to kill off the sales of 2nd edition. If they announce 3rd edition's coming, a lot of people will probably bail on 2nd edition. But you got to feel that that's probably coming. I think they've made a ton of money off the Mansions of Madness when they moved to the app there in the 2nd edition, brought a lot of new people into it. I know some people were anti that, and we've had our run-ins with people here even on the show calling in about keeping technology out of games. So there's definitely that faction out there. But I think as we go through time, more and more people are accepting the idea that board games can have a little technology. You're not killing the board game hobby by adding in, we don't want to go full video game on it, but if you have a little app that assists with playing the game, with keeps some hidden information, kind of runs the game for you, tells you how to populate the board, things like that. I mean, that's adds to the experience as far as I'm concerned. But so it was a little interesting. Some people were disappointed to hear that was coming to an end. But on the flip side, they also mentioned announced, I think it's the 3rd or the 4th expansion now coming out for the Lord of the Rings game. It's the Lord of the Rings
Journeys in Middle Earth.
In Middle Earth, yeah, that sounds right. And so they've announced another one coming out for that. So I've only heard good things. We played through the entire.
That's the only campaign game
that you've
I've
completed.
ever finished in my life.
Yeah, we played through the whole base
In my life.
base game.
Not even like Mario Super Brothers Part 1. Haven't finished that.
Yeah, and we enjoyed it. I think you enjoyed it, and we weren't completely blown away by it. There were some clunky things in it, although I have heard that each of the expansions that's come out since then has progressively gotten better. They've done some new cool things with the app and with the board and with the adventures, and if they keep on this pace, if this new one is as good as the ones in the past, I'm actually looking forward to maybe trying to jump back into that. I know you sold your copy
to Chester,
to Chester after you played. It's one of the few games you've ever let go of, but you just didn't see yourself.
He really wanted it, though. He was seeking it, and I had finished the campaign, so I thought, okay, let's pass it on.
And then as soon as you got rid of it, I think we heard that they were coming out with the first full expansion. But yeah, so that was kind of a bummer. But yeah, I mean, he's got it, so I mean, we can definitely jump back into it. I told him about the new expansion that was coming, and he's looking forward to trying to actually. I played through about the first half of the campaign with him and another couple of friends of his, and we just haven't gotten back to finish it up. We stopped when the pandemic hit, and we just haven't ever gotten back to it yet. But we were talking the other night about wanting to do that, and then he was like, when I told him that the expansions were supposedly even better, he got excited. He's like, oh, yeah, we got to finish that thing, because I want to pick up some of those expansions. So yeah, I'm looking forward to trying to jump back in and finish that up. So
in other news, Carlos's copy of Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition has gone up for sale.
Oh yeah, hot item. better buy it now. Buy it now. Third edition coming soon.
I am all out of gaming adjacent topics. Dan, any other additional gaming news, gaming adjacents you have?
We have Journeys into Middle Earth.
Oh, okay, cool.
We have a copy. So
All right, excellent.
you can jump right back in.
Yeah.
I did keep my player mat. I did, or the game mat, the Lord of the Rings mat.
Oh, that's right, because you like just the mat in general. So
It's just a beautiful map of Middle Earth.
And it wasn't really game specific. If I remember, there weren't even places, anything on it. It was just a map of Middle
It's
Earth.
just a pretty neoprene mat to play games on.
Yeah, so yeah, well,
I did keep that.
All right, so we'll take that to the shop, and then we'll play Dan's version on it again. Yeah.
There you go.
Cool.
Well, Dan, I want to thank you for taking time to join us.
Yeah, absolutely.
On our podcast.
I like it. It's fun.
Yeah,
it is. It's
easy.
talking games.
It's easy.
The reason Rob and I did this is because this is what we do for fun. Figure put it on air and see what other people
start
think.
recording it. Yeah, might as well.
So, and I want to thank all you folks who are listening at home. Please shoot us an email, beansanddice@gmail.com. Let us know what you think of the podcast, any thoughts on the games that we've been playing and buying.
Yep.
Just want to know if you're out there listening. I see the downloads. But,
Yeah, we're doing
let us
all
know
right.
if you're out there listening.
Yeah, what you like, what you don't like. We can handle the feedback, so just let us know.
No, I'm soft.
Oh, okay. Well, he's soft. I can handle the feedback, so keep it coming.
Thank you for listening to us, Beans and Dice Podcast. I'm Carlos,
I'm Rob.
Dan.
and we will catch you all on the next one. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for watching the Beans and Dice podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching the Beans and Dice podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe.